Hello, friends. If your spouse died recently, or you know someone going through this right now, this video could save you thousands of dollars. Because in the year after losing a spouse, the biggest financial mistakes are almost always small ones. A benefit that was never claimed, a form that was never updated, a debt that was never actually yours to pay. And several of these have hard deadlines that do not come back once they close. Today, I am walking you through the entire first year in order so you know exactly what to do and when before grief turns into a financial mistake that lasts for years. Now let's get into it. Step number 1, the death certificates. Most people overorder. Don't start by ordering 15 certified copies. Start with 2 or 3 and keep them secure. If a specific institution asks for an original, order another one then. Most accept copies or return originals after reviewing them. Why this matters? Over-ordering wastes money for no benefit. Since most institutions don't keep the original. Action. Order 2 to 3 certified copies from the Vital Records Office. Or funeral home. Order more only on request. Step number 2. The Social Security call. Almost no one thinks to make. In most cases, the funeral home reports the death to Social Security automatically. But the surviving spouse still has to contact SSA directly to claim survivor benefits. They don't start on their own. As of 2026, SSA says eligible surviving spouses can generally qualify starting at age 60 or age 50 if disabled, with extra rules if you're caring for the deceased worker's child. Survivor benefits can range from 71.5% to 100% of the deceased spouse's benefit, depending on your age when you apply. And current SSA guidance includes a retroactive period for certain applications. So benefits don't just start from the day you call. There's also a $255 lump sum death payment available to a qualifying spouse, or in some cases, an eligible child. But the application deadline is 2 years after the death. Action: call SSA and ask exactly what you qualify for, when entitlement begins, and whether retroactivity applies to your case. Do this within the first 30 days. Step number 3, the 3 other calls people forget: insurance, employer, and the VA. Life insurance, the employer, and pension administrators each need to be contacted separately. Notifying one does not notify the others. If your spouse was a veteran, the VA needs to. Be told as soon as possible. Reporting promptly helps prevent overpayments the VA could later ask you for. To pay back. Depending on the veteran's circumstances, a surviving spouse may also qualify for dependency and indemnity compensation. The current 2026 standard DIC rate is $1,699.36 per month before additions. And it's tax exempt. Action: contact life insurance, employer, pension administrator, and VA, if applicable, in the first 30 days. 4 separate calls, not 1. Step number 4, the paperwork trap. Your will does not control everything. Between days 30 and 90, inventory every account. Bank, brokerage, IRAs, 401ks, pensions, life insurance, annuities, real estate, vehicles, business interests, digital assets. Here's the trap. People assume the will decides who gets what. It doesn't. A joint bank account may pass to the surviving owner based on how it's titled. An IRA or life insurance policy pays out according to its beneficiary form, regardless of what the will says. Action: review and update beneficiary designations on your own accounts and retitle jointly owned property according to your beliefs. States requirements. Do this before month 3. Step number 5, the debt collector call you don't have to say yes to. Also in this 30-90-day window, protect the deceased's financial identity by reviewing credit reports and review your health coverage options if you are covered through your spouse's employer. But here's the one most people miss. A debt collector calling and saying you owe money does not make it true. The CFPB says a surviving spouse is generally not personally responsible for a deceased spouse's debt unless you co-signed, were a joint account holder, your state law creates an exception, or another legal responsibility applies. Debts generally belong to the estate, not automatically to you. Action. Before writing any check, ask, is this my debt or is this the estate's debt? Before you pay. Step number 6. The tax return that surprises almost every widow and widower. Months 3 through 12 is the tax phase. In the year your spouse dies, you can generally still file as married filing jointly if you qualify. After that, you may be eligible for qualifying surviving spouse status for up to 2 more tax years if you have a qualifying child and remain unmarried. Here's the surprise. For 2026, the standard deduction is $32,200 for married filing jointly and qualifying surviving spouses, compared with just $16,100 for single filers. The 22% federal bracket starts above $100,800 filing jointly, but above only $50,400 filing single. That's a massive difference. Action. Do not let payroll switch you to single by default. Confirm your actual filing status first, then update your W-4 to match. Step number 7. The retirement account decision you cannot undo. This is where just roll it over becomes dangerous advice. A surviving spouse may have special options for an inherited IRA or employer plan. The IRS allows a sole beneficiary spouse to, in certain situations, elect to treat the IRA as their own. Own. Keep it as an inherited account, or use another permitted strategy. That choice affects your required minimum distributions and your taxes for years. This is also when you should update your own will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, and emergency contacts. Your spouse's death makes all of these outdated. If your family's assets are substantial, note that the 2026 federal estate tax exclusion is $15 million. And a surviving spouse may be able to preserve the deceased spouse's unused exclusion through a portability. Election on a timely filed estate tax return. Action. Before moving any retirement money, ask a tax professional. What happens to my RMDs and taxes if I keep this as an inherited account versus making it my own? Don't decide this alone, and don't rush it. So here's the whole year in one place. Order 2 to 3 death certificates, not 15. Call Social Security directly for survivor benefits and the $255 payment. Separately notify life insurance, employer, pension, and the VA. Review every beneficiary form. Your will doesn't control those accounts. Don't pay a debt just because a collector says you owe it. Watch your tax filing status and standard deduction before payroll defaults you to single. And don't rush your inherited retirement account decision. Get advice first. One final warning. Do not let someone use your grief to rush you into an investment, an annuity, a property transfer, or a loan. If someone calls saying, move this money today, or sign this now, you do not have to make a permanent decision on their timeline. Your only real deadline is protecting your own benefits, rights, and assets. Save this checklist. Write the date of death at the top. Then list every deadline: Social Security, your insurer, your employer, the VA, and your tax professional give. And if you're helping a parent, sibling, or friend through this, send them this video. Subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and I'll see you in the next one.